This is Georgie Price. I'm the Project Support Officer at Scott, and I'm here today with Zanne. Would you like to introduce yourself, Zanne?
Yeah, I'm Zanne Domoney-Lyttle, and I'm the Project Support for the Girvan Community-Led Tourism Steering Group.
Okay, so today we're just going to talk a bit about the kind of progress that's being made with the community-led tourism projects in Girvan. Would you mind talking to me a bit first about how kind of it was set up at the initial stages?
So, I wasn't around for the initial stages. I joined a little bit later on into the project. But from what I'm told, the initial stages were very much handled by Scott and Creetown Initiative, who came together on the project and basically put together the steering group, which underpins the entire project. So Creetown Initiative in particular were quite proactive in seeking out members of the community and representatives from various social enterprises and charities and community groups and businesses within Girvan to come together to form the steering group. And the purpose of the steering group really was to make decisions about the community-led tourism aspects of what Girvan needed. So it was up to them really to develop an idea and a plan really of what they wanted to do with the funding and with the project, both in a short-term and in a long-term capacity.
Perfect. Okay. So as you're kind of firmly in this, could you talk to me a bit about who makes up the steering group? What kind of members of Girvan are part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So our steering group is very colourful. We've got a really excellent range of people on it, from a diverse range of backgrounds, diverse range of experience, and I would say a diverse range of what they want out of the project as well, which is really, really good. So we have members from the Community Garden, which is a really well-established charity group, community group within Girvan. We have members from Girvan and District Attractions. We have just citizens of the town who are really active, involved in volunteering and all of these sorts of things. We have members from the Tourist Information Point, from the Girvan Town team who oversee us. So we're a subgroup of them. We've got Marie McNulty from the UNESCO Biosphere, which is really, really exciting for us because obviously that's a massive project that really impacts this area. So it's good to have her involvement in this. And we have a few other small organisations that are involved as well. I think one of the things that we're lacking, which we had originally, but we lost along the way, would be business owners. So it's been quite difficult for us to reach into that arena. And I think simply because business owners are so busy, obviously trying to look after and grow their own businesses. So I would say the steering group is mostly made up of people who are involved already within community groups and charity organisations within Girvan.
Great. Okay. So a real variety of people that make up.
Absolutely.
So obviously you kind of mentioned how not having business owners is one of the challenges. What other challenges have you faced so far in the project?
I suppose obviously the biggest one is the big C word, COVID. That was a really big challenge to begin with. It meant that all of the meetings were online, that we couldn't meet in person. I didn't meet the steering group whenever I was brought on board for a good couple of months, which was quite an odd feeling. But on the other hand, although it was a challenge and it would have been nicer to be able to have met in person, having that online aspect did mean it was more flexible so people could easier make meetings. But at the same time, it taught us resilience a little bit too, that we just kind of had to get on with it the way that everybody else in the country did as well, I suppose. So it was a challenge, but it was also a little bit of a benefit, I think, in the long run. I think one of the other challenges that the steering group might say, and that Creetown Initiative might agree with as well, is that so my role as project support didn't start until the end of October, which was about 8 or 9 months into the process. So for that first little while, I think the group might have felt a little bit lost because all of the work had been put onto them as volunteers, and it was an awful lot to think about and do. And I think had they brought on that project support a little bit earlier, they would have been a little bit further ahead. But again, at the same time, I think there's benefits to the way that it happened because it gave them time to really think out what they wanted from the project and where they were going with it. And then by the time they were ready to start progressing, they could bring me in and, make those things happen. So I think though there were challenges that also in some weird way were also advantages to us as well.
Great. Okay. So would you mind talking to me a little bit about the different projects that make up the whole project?
Yeah, absolutely. There are many. So, we've really tried to stretch both the funding and our resources as far as possible, basically. And some of them are short-term projects and kind of superficial, if you like, things. So, for example, one of the things we've done or in the process of doing is installing lamppost banners along the promenade and around the beach area as a sort of, a lift to the area to kind of entice people down to see, what's going on. And we've done other kind of superficial projects too, where, for example, we've refurbished the tourist information point, which was a lot of fun. And it meant we got to kind of travel around and look at other tourist informations to see what they were doing and how we could borrow ideas from them. But they're very much kind of fairly short term, but fairly superficial projects. And I don't mean that in a negative way. But then we've got the more long term, more sustainable projects. So one of the biggest projects is our digital media project. So within that, there were 5 strands. So the first one was to have a branding workshop. So we started working with an organization who went through a workshop process with us, and we created a brand for Girvan, which was Go Girvan. And it came, with the branding colors and the font choices and the tone of voice and all of these sorts of things. And then we used that branding to create new social media profiles on Instagram and Facebook, where we've managed to gather quite a good following. We also used that branding for the lamppost banner. So that was another strand of it. But the biggest thing that came from that, there were sort of 2 elements. One was we have created a promotional video of Girvan, and we've got another one coming. So we have the sort of autumn winter one, and we've got a spring summer one, which is about to be filmed next weekend. And those videos will last us for a little bit of time and are things that we can continuously put out on social media to encourage people to come and visit the area. And we can also put them on the final strand of that project, which was our website. So we created a brand new website, gogirvan.co.uk, where the video sits, where, we have these lovely, gorgeous photos of Girvan, lots of information like accommodation, so where to stay, where to eat, things to see and do, basically all those good things that you want as a visitor to the area. So that's been our biggest project, I think, and the one that we hope will have kind of long-lasting impact. But we've done other things as well. So we undertook an accommodation scoping study where we asked a consultant to go out and figure out what Girvan has in terms of accommodation. So we have it down in black and white and where we're lacking, so that perhaps in the future, one of our bigger projects will be to go out and get some funding and develop a more diverse range of accommodation in Girvan. We've supported a myriad of local events within the town as well. So there is a huge community of creative and great people within Girvan who are constantly doing wonderful things. And we gave each of them like a little pot of money to put on events within the town to entice people back into the town, but also to serve the community as well. One of the things that we're working towards at the moment, which is really exciting, is a tatty festival. So Girvan is really well known for growing the Ayrshire Epicure potato. This is one of the first earlies. So it's a spring potato, or sort of spring summer potato. And it grows really, really well here because we're in a really mild climate and we're sort of in a sheltered microclimate as well. And the potato was awarded PGI status just before COVID hit, actually. And so we never really got to celebrate that. So we're celebrating it now. So we're going to have this big tatty festival, which is sort of a food festival. We'll get people in to do cooking demonstrations, and there'll be free food tasters. We have planted about 40 kilos of seed potatoes throughout the town, and about 6 or 7 different community groups have taken part in that. And when those tatties are ready, we'll harvest them and we'll use them at the festival to cook up and to give to people of the town and visitors as well, obviously. So that for us is really exciting because it's highlighting a unique aspect of Girvan, but in a really fun and hopefully family friendly, and who doesn't love a tatty and who doesn't love a food festival as well. So we're hoping that will be sort of one of our staple events in the future going forward, where we can sort of entice people back into the town and recognise all of the things that we have to offer here. So those are sort of the bigger ones that we've done. We've also diversified some of the existing tourism opportunities. So we've worked with the Youth Trust, for example, where they run the boating pond down at the green in front of the beach. And we've worked with them to buy giant versions of games that they could put out on the promenade, and visitors can come and use those, and sort of little things like that. So yeah, it's diversifying existing tourism offering that we have, but also looking to create new ones as well, and how they work together and dialogue with each other.
Great. Wow.
That was a really long answer. Sorry.
No, it's perfect. A lot going on. My next question was actually going to be about the kind of successes that you've had so far, but I mean, that all sounds like very successful. Other than the projects themselves, are there any other wins that you've kind of felt going along so far, or like working with the steering group? Or
I think so. I think that one of the biggest wins, obviously, is that we're putting Girvan back on the map, and we're starting to see people talk about it, like outside of the town, which is, shows that we are successful in what we're doing, or what we're trying to do. But one of the big wins, I think, is that this project has sort of started to unify all of the existing disparate community groups which already exist within Girvan. So like I said, we already have a lot of them, and they're doing amazing things, but we're starting to kind of pull them all into this umbrella that we sit under, so we can all start to work together a bit more and maybe be a bit more cohesive. So as an example, the Tatty Festival is incorporating about 7 or 8 different community groups where they'll put on their own events, but under the umbrella of the Tatty Festival. And that's a really big success for me, because I think when people come together, at these grassroots levels and work together, that's where the power is. And that's really the point behind community-led tourism as well. So that, for me, that's been a really, really big success. And the steering group is a representation of that, because obviously they represent all of those different groups in a way as well, and some not as well. But it's been really nice to see them kind of work together and kind of come together as friends as well in the end.
Yeah, wow, amazing.
I know I make it sound like it's all blue skies and
lovely. Well, it sounds like it. No, lovely. What do you see as the kind of future for community-led tourism in Girvan, and further afield?
So within Girvan, I see it staying. I see that the community, especially the steering group that we have, but other people are now starting to see the value and understand what it is we're trying to do. I think there was a while there where you kind of had to get to grips with what community-led tourism means. But because we've had great support from Creetown, from Senscott, from South Ayrshire Council, in particular, their community wealth building division have been incredibly supportive. Because we've got that behind us, we've been able to, we've got quite a lot of traction going forward. So people are attracted by that and they can see the benefits of it. So for Girvan, I think we're really starting to think long term now. We're starting to think, how can we do more? How can we, as a steering group, move forward to, potentially become a constituted group within our own right, so that we can start to develop some of our longer term projects. And we can start to take advantage of things like being the gateway to Ailsa Craig that no other town can lay to that claim, or having the tatties that no other town can claim as well. So for us, I think very much it's a natural fit for Girvan moving forward. For the wider picture, I hope that people look at our project and they look at Brechin as well, who've done some amazing stuff, and sort of see how beneficial it is for the people on the ground to be given the power and the trust to do these things, and how much difference that makes than putting it in the hands of, sort of third parties or external bodies or organizations that aren't invested on the ground. And I think if people can see that and understand, it's a really simple idea, but it can be a scary idea. But if people can grab that and understand it and apply it to their own communities, then the potential and the possibilities are endless.